Homeward bound at last, nearly 2,000 Yugoslavs and Greeks too prepare to leave their Middle East refuge. Here at El Shat in the Sinai Desert, Unruh organized a vast refugee camp where eventually over 20,000 stricken people were to find sanctuary. Here they stayed for 18 months, living for the day when once more they could return home. That day had come. This was the fourth of the Unruh refugee convoys. For onlookers, the departure of these people was a moving experience. Where before they had been exhausted, stunned by the cataclysm of war, now there was eagerness, excitement, and hope in their bearing. Remember, nearly all these returning exiles have behind them a history of personal tragedy. Many of the women had lost their husbands who stayed behind to fight in the resistance movements. Scores of children have never seen their fathers. Many of them never will. In Egypt, under the guidance of Unruh, the refugees have found a haven during these sad years. They've been fed and clothed. Most of all, they were released from the dread of German occupation. In many cases, the refugees will return to villages and towns now blackened ruins. Back home again, to countries deliberately and savagely destroyed by Axis barbarians, but which still mean home in the fullest sense of the word. The longing for familiar places is one of the cruelest things of war. The end of the long journey home for the older people, but for the younger generations begins the task of rekindling the torch of civilized living. The Nazi party is dissolved, reads this notice. It's the first indication to the people of this Elbe River city that they are a conquered people. The Americans entered the town in the morning. By afternoon, all military equipment, uniforms, flags, weapons had to be surrendered. For Germany, the unthinkable, the unbelievable, utter defeat. In a salt mine, victorious Allied troops discovered a veritable Aladdin's cave. In it, the Germans had hidden boxes of coin, bars of gold to an immense value, bundles of banknotes. Here too were discovered some of the priceless art treasures filched from the great museums and collections of Europe. This was robbery on a scale undreamt of by the plundering hordes of ancient days. Now will come the onerous task of identifying the treasures and restoring them to their rightful owners, if they can be found. With truly amazing cheerfulness and fortitude, newly freed Allied soldiers march out of the Reich on the first stage of their journey home. They are among the first prisoners of war to be liberated inside Germany. The British, Americans, and Russians freed here had been marched 900 kilometers from eastern Germany. Here are truly damning pictures. These are British soldiers, and this is how they looked after 4 years in a German prison camp. Those others were damning pictures indeed, yet not to be compared with the dreadful spectacle which greeted General Eisenhower when the Supreme Commander visited the Nazi concentration camp at Unruh. And here is the notorious Buchenwald concentration camp. In this camp were political prisoners, men and women of many religions and many countries, and thousands of Germans too. Their crime? Refusal to accept the Nazis' barbaric doctrine. Some of these men had endured 5 years of this. Remember what Field Marshal von Rundstedt said. One great mistake of 1918 was to spare civilians of enemy countries. The ovens in which were burned thousands of innocent human beings. In the Belsen concentration camp, the Germans had imprisoned no less than 60,000 persons. How many have died will never be known. These were female guards of the SS. The cruelties these fiendish women inflicted must be left to the imagination. Sufficient to say they could get their meager portion of food only by producing at least one dead body each day. The SS guards, men and women at the Belsen horror camp were led by the commandant, Josef Cramer. We must not forget